This past weekend, I pulled the trigger. I thought about it. I didn't know what I was going to do. And at the final moment, I pulled the trigger and I bought FullGEar. And I'm not mad. I'm not mad I bought FullGEar. Newsflash, surprise. For everybody who calls me an AEW hater, the next 10 minutes might surprise you because I'm going to go through. There was quite a bit on that show to enjoy, starting with Jungle Boy, a.k.a. Jack Perry, and Luchasaurus. Those two guys impressed the shit out of me to open the show. That was a solid match as far as casual wrestling fans go. Because you got to remember, I'm coming at this from a casual fan's point of view. I'm not coming at this from the AEW elitist kind of rose-colored glasses. And that was a match that appeals to the whole spectrum of wrestling fans. I think it had everything that AEW fans appreciate as far as wrestling goes, but it had a good amount of storytelling and a good amount of kind of casual wrestling gimmick in it. Now I understand the critics are going to say, and the knock on FullGEar is going to be the lack of storytelling leading into the event. Now, that may be true, but the amount of storytelling that happened during the event, I think might have been sufficient. And we got to talk about, man, that jump off of the top rope. Off of the top of the cage. That type of shit, that is the shit that AEW does on a consistent basis that, while reckless, dangerous, probably fucking stupid, that's the stuff that when you watch it, you go like, that's why people like this stuff. That's why wrestling fans watch this stuff. It's for the things that you don't see that everywhere. You don't see a guy jump from 18 feet up in the air through a table, through a dinosaur laying on a table. That's not something you see everywhere. That's a highlight that should be clipped and played over and over because that was highly impressive. That was a great way to start FullGEar. It got me into a mindset that said, okay, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for FullGEar. As a casual wrestling fan, I came into it not expecting much. I said, what is going to happen between, this is how you sell. I am one of the biggest advocates against size in wrestling. Small wrestlers, not a big fan, right? But that's how you sell big versus small. That's how you sell a guy overcoming the odds. They did a good job this time. Typically, I'm critical of AEW for not selling it correctly. That was the correct way to do it. And it worked as a first match overall. So then from that match, what do? We roll right into the Elite. We roll right into the Elite, who I was extremely critical of all week. Extremely critical of them placing themselves in a high-level match. Extremely critical of them putting themselves in a title match, coming back with absolutely no repercussions for everything that happened at All Out, at the media scrum, and they took their time off. They played video games. They went on vacation. They were filming reality shows. I was super critical of them. And here we go. We lead in, and they come out, and they come out to the perfect song. And I realized immediately I hate the Elite. The Elite annoy the shit out of me. And I immediately realized that's what they're supposed to do. They've mission accomplished, guys. I hate you. I hate the Elite. And they make perfect bad guys. I found myself rooting for the Death Triangle, and I'm not even fans of them. That's how you engage casual fans like myself, is when you get me invested. You get me to buy into your bullshit. Now, whether this was planned, whether this is coincidence, whether this just happened because of the CM Punk stuff, it happened, but I dislike the Elite, which makes me like AEW a little bit more. I have somebody to cheer against. And surprising as hell, I didn't see it coming. I never expected that when that match started, we were going to get fuck CM Punk chants. I didn't expect that to happen. I really thought that the AEW crowd might give a little bit of respect, but it looks like AEW is done. Zero chance he returns. Not after that. He's not coming back. They don't need him. They don't want him. AEW fans chose their side. It's obvious they are behind the Elite. And one thing I'll say, in watching an AEW Elite match with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega, man, I tweeted it out. It's a spot fest. It's Circus Soleil. It's a circus. There's not a lot of cohesiveness. It's big spot after big spot after big spot. And while I'm not a fan, probably my least favorite match on the card that night. It was fun to root against the Elite, but I'm not a fan of that style of wrestling. It's not for me, but I can say I 100% get how you become an AEW fan. If you're a fan of that, if you're a fan of big spots, tons of super kicks, tons of popping off the ropes, tons of flipping around, a lot of choreographed fighting that doesn't, like when you really break it down, it doesn't make much sense. A lot of guys waiting on people to jump on them, a lot of setup, but a lot of big time like moments that are they're clippable. You can put them on YouTube. They're going to get the AEW crowd hyped. They're going to get the IWC crowd hyped. I get it. That's mission accomplished there. Spot Fest 2022, Spot Fest match of the year. That's it, right? They nailed it. It had a little bit of everything, you know. It had a little tugging, a little push and pull with like, do we cheat? Do we not cheat? We get a dirty finish of a guy who doesn't really want to finish dirty. And like they sold it. It was as good as it could be for as critical as I was all week as far as that goes. It's not for me. That match was not meant for me. That match was fan service for the Elite fans, for the IWC, for the hardcore AEW. And that's okay because this show altogether felt like it had a little bit of something for everybody. It really did. And that's funny because I think you're going to look at this overall and maybe the IWC and some other fans are going to shit on this show. And as a casual fan, I'm going to come back and say, I saw the attempt to gain a larger audience in this night. I saw Jade Cargill come out and look, I'm not sold and overly impressed with her wrestling ability, just like a lot of people aren't with Britt Baker, and that's okay, right? Because I think the package of Jade Cargill, the marketability of Jade Cargill, is astronomical. What is there not to like about Jade Cargill? I thought her fucking outfit was fire. She came out as a Thundercat. That was dope, man. That was cool. What is there not to like about Jade Cargill? Now you could get nitpicky. You could talk about X's and O's, flips and things like that, but that's not where I come from. I don't watch wrestling for that. I watch wrestling for the story, for the entertainment, for the marketing. That's what I like. I like the show. I like the lights, the glitz, the glamour. That's why I'm watching pro wrestling. And when I watch Jade Cargill, she ticks those boxes. And I saw a lot of people calling to get the belt off of her, but why? Who are you going to put it on? Like right now, the crowd is behind this. They're behind this kind of Goldberg-esque streak. There's no reason to end that. Wrestling fans get overly, especially IWC, they get overly like anxious of things that are getting a little commercial. And Jade Cargill is getting a little bit commercial, right? She's appealing with the outfits. She's appealing with the way she talks. She's attractive. She has all these high marketability things. And then the IWC panics and goes, get the belt off of her. She's way too commercial. I don't like that. I thought, man, for a match that I had zero interest in, I came out of it not saying that it was a great wrestling match by any stretch of the means, but I came out of it saying, I can see Jade Cargill is trending in the right direction, at least. Like she's going in the right direction, and I can appreciate that. Then we got to the Ring of Honor, or no, it was the TNT title match. The TNT title match was between Samoa Joe, Wardlow, and Hobbs. No complaints there, man. That is, to me, that is an underused group of people on AEW. When you start finally putting big guys in the ring with big guys, you get these kind of matches. It felt like a heavyweight title fight. It felt like big guys getting in there and scrapping and mixing it up, and it felt good. My only problem, one big problem coming out of AEW FullGEar, as a casual wrestling fan watching this show, I left with a little bit of confusion. And that confusion stems from this idea. There's a lot of titles in AEW. more so than I even realized. Like there's a lot of titles, and I'm not sure I understand the hierarchy of these titles, because I think AEW tries to portray this like linear position of titles, but it's obvious to people that titles have to have a position. It was obvious after tonight that the AEW World Championship that MJF won, that's the granddaddy. You can't sell me anymore on this idea that the TNT title and that big boy beautiful belt, like those are equal. They're not. You do have a major title and you do have a mid card. Where I'm confused is, where does the Ring of Honor title fit into that picture? Are we supposed to view the Ring of Honor title? They keep referencing it as a world title, yet I don't know that it feels more important than the TNT title. And by doing that, do we discredit the TNT title? Because I thought that was a hell of a match. Wardlow is extremely impressive. Samoa Joe is Samoa Joe. He's going to give you Samoa Joe every fucking time he hits the ring, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then Powerhouse Hobbs is coming to be. But those are three big guys who can move around the ring, and they put on an impressive match. That was a match that you don't expect to see. When you turn on an AEW show, you're not expecting to see three guys like that get a decent amount of time and put on a pretty good show. I was impressed. And this is coming from somebody who has not been a loyal watcher of weekly Dynamite and Rampage television. I tune in, I tune out. I've tended to just watch the things that interest me and kind of strayed away from, there's a lot that doesn't interest me. But today or last night, I chose, I watched it Sunday. So last night, I chose to really focus in and watch everything with like just a clear vision. This may have been my sleeper for match of the night. I really enjoyed that match. I also had no problem. And then this is another match that I was super critical of all week. And that was Saraya and Britt Baker. And it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. It was probably what we all should have expected. Britt did a good job of protecting her. It was not a long match. I think it was like 12 minutes, it felt like. And it wasn't anything. If you were writing a playbook for how to have a good return match, not a great, but a good return match to allow Saraya to get back into the groove of things, this was it. That's how you do it. And it went well. My fear is she can't do that forever. And I know it's early and this is an overreaction, but you can't, there's not going to be this level of emotion to protect her forever, because coming off that match, they kept cutting the camera to her brother. There's everybody crying. There's a lot of emotion that spills out after that victory because she is coming back. But like they asked her in the media scrum, how often do you plan to wrestle? And that's a question that I have, right? Was this a one-off? Is this a one-off thing we get to be happy with? Or is she really coming back to kind of entertain, maybe going after the women's championship at some point? And if she is, we have a ways to go. Now, she admitted she was rusty, and I got zero problems with that, right? That's what you expect after 8 years not being in the ring. You expect to be a little bit rusty, but I thought, once again, this match did its job. I think it was placed extremely well within the card. There was not much emphasis put on it. What this match did was it did an incredible job of selling me on wanting to watch this pay-per-view. It was a big part of me tuning in, but then once they got me kind of sunk into the event, this match was just kind of a filler. It was just kind of in the middle. It was there. It made sense. It did exactly what it's supposed to do, and then it got out of the way for the rest of the show, and there's no problem with that. I have no problem with that. I also have no problem with the fact that Sting is like 70 something years old and he's still doing his thing in the ring. This dude is older than my dad. Like, I just realized watching AEW, watching FullGEar, Sting is older than my dad and he is still doing the damn thing in the ring. That's crazy. And shout out to Jeff Jarrett. He looks good in the ring. I've been critical of all these people. I know when I'm wrong. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. I'm not sold on AEW, guys. I'm not having a 360 here. What I'm doing is I'm telling you guys I enjoyed this moment, this FullGEar pay-per-view, because what I'm afraid of is I go tune in Wednesday and then we get a bunch of guys I've never fucking heard of again. Like, we resort back. And I think the reason, I think Overall, I haven't looked at social media, but I think people may be down on FullGEar a little bit. And that's probably the reason I'm up on it, because it was more of a casual friendly show than most AEW shows. Almost every match I watched featured somebody I recognized. There wasn't a bunch of this like, who the fuck is that guy? Or where the fuck did this guy come from? Or this guy's from New Japan Pro Wrestling. This was the most, and dare I say, WWE looking pay-per-view that AEW has put on since I've started watching, and I did enjoy it. And then we got to talk about the interim title match between Jamie Hayter and Tony Storm, with Britt Baker getting involved. Can we cut the fucking interim title bullshit? Like, that's so stupid. It takes away from the accomplishment of that was a solid title match. Those two women are both more interesting than Thunder Rosa. Like, nobody cares. If Thunder Rosa comes back, great. She can be first in line to get the opportunity against Jamie Hayter. But like, let's not devalue these matches because we want to play pretend MMA. Like, you don't need interim champions in professional wrestling. Just strip the belt. Quit joking about it. Quit talking about it, Tony Khan. Just strip the belt. Take the belt away from Thunder Rosa and let Jamie Hayter have her moment, because how many title matches can you have in between? And like, to me, your interim champion should only be interim champion until she has to defend it against somebody else. So if your real champion can't come back before your interim champion has to defend that belt, then the real champion needs to be stripped of the belt. It's time. It's time. Unfortunately, whatever's wrong with Thunder Rosa, it's not going away fast enough. So it's time, take the belt away. And like I said, hey, when you feel better, when you're ready to come back, you could be first in line. But until then, we're not going to keep playing interim champion. How does that look in the record books? Like, when we go back and look, does Toni Storm's, does her title run go down as only an interim champion, or does it go down as being a legitimate champion? Like, if it's just interim, that's bullshit. And then we ended the show. We ended the show with the big boys, right? The Moxley MJF match, it sold. It did everything it was advertised to do. It was a slugfest. It was rough. Love that it didn't rely on blood. It didn't rely on the normal AEW tropes and gimmicks. It was just a straight up wrestling match. And MJF sold it beautifully. And MJF played the part of babyface. And he did everything the way that he had been doing it. And then boom, we get the big twist at the end. Now, some of you might have seen it coming, but as a casual wrestling fan, I didn't know this was what we were going for. I had no clue that William Regal was going to be on the side of MJF. Love it. Love the ending. Love the finish. Love MJF winning the title. Love the celebration, the real raw emotion that came out of him. It's been a long journey, but guess what? This is it, man. The show begins. This is the real test for AEW. This is your guy. Like, Moxley is a big deal, but Moxley doesn't appeal to the casual fans. Moxley's great. The IWC fucking loves him. They'll tell you he's the best wrestler in the world. AEW fans, they fucking love him. They'll tell you he's the best wrestler in the world. But casual fans aren't 100%. They still see him as Dean Ambrose. Casual fans didn't fall in love with Moxley the way the IWC did. This is it. This is go time. This is all systems go. This is MJF is the champion of AEW, and we can begin a new era in AEW wrestling that is going to be led by a guy who is must-watch TV. Now, takeaways from this match, MJF looked big as fuck, man. Like, he's bulked up. He's taking this shit serious. He is every day looking more and more like a professional wrestler and less like I used to refer to him as a fucking choir nerd. He doesn't look like that anymore. MJF looks like a guy who's coming to fucking fight. And I'm okay with, like, I'm good with that. He like, the passion is there. The work ethic is there. It's like, it is time. MJF, I'm fucking calling. Take over the industry. I'm okay with it. I'm a WWE guy through and through, but I'm ready for this. Like, I'm ready to see if MJF can pull the numbers, if he can pull the attention of fans and raise and boost AEW ratings, let's do it. Because he looked good in the ring. And at the media scrum, he came out and said, he's the best wrestler in the world. It's time to back it up. He's the best talker in the world. It's time to back it up. And I think he can do it. Like, I get, like, there are people who shit on when I talk about MJF and they go, he'd be a mid-carder in WWE. I don't buy that bullshit. I don't buy that bullshit one bit. I think MJF is the real deal. I think this is the official beginning of AEW. As far as I'm concerned, from a mass marketing perspective and professional wrestling, this is the first champion outside of CM Punk who didn't have enough time to actually do what I think MJF will do. But outside of CM Punk, this is the first champion that's going to appeal to the mass audiences. Moxley didn't do it. Hangman didn't do it. I think Jericho was just a little too early before everybody was willing to kind of hear it out. But like, this is it. This is go time for them. And I'm excited. I'm excited to tune in on Wednesday and see what happens. Can they drop the ball? Oh, of course they can, because that's what AEW tends to do, right? Is Wednesday we'll come out and we'll see a bunch of fucking people we've never seen before as casual fans. Not talking about as IWC, but as casual fans, we'll see a bunch of people that we've never fucking seen before, and we'll go, oh, more of this. More of this, right? More of this. Put together, like the guys that were on tonight, that's who needs to be on TV every night. That's it. Like, put those guys on TV, pound those guys into the fucking casual fans' heads, and your audience will grow. There's something there. Like, there was the makings there tonight for a show that can capture casual fans. I'm 100% under that belief.